Recently I was talking to my homie, Horrentino. Her name is Melody. Hello, if you're watching this. We were talking about anxiety. We were messaging. We weren't talking, we were messaging on this site, which can happen, which you can have conversations on in the comment section. I've done it numerous times. So if you're thinking that people are gonna invade your conversations and say horrible things, it hasn't happened so far. Who cares? Who cares enough to come in and talk to the loonies? They're more concerned with Kanye. I want to talk about anxiety. This is what I was discussing with Melody. Briefly. I'm going to expound on that right here and right now. I've been thinking about addiction. I have been thinking about that. I've been thinking about the relationship between the drug and the person and their brain and the need for that drug that they're taking it. And the reason why, because there's one person that can smoke crack and then the very next day not want it. And then there's another person that smokes crack and the next day they want it. Or heroin, or benzos, or alcohol, cigarettes, nicotine. And when I think about anxiety, and I think about all of humans having some form of anxiety, more or less. And personally, my anxiety, to the degree that I have it, when it's fluctuating more or less, I will physically have things that happen. For example, my hands will crack and bleed. And it is winter time, and it is dry here where I'm at, and that does do something towards my hands bleeding and getting cracked. Still, my anxiety is very high when that happens. Another thing too is things that make anxiety, that heightened anxiety. And this is important. This is an environmental type thing, or what you're around, or stressors, however you want to put it. I'm serious about this. If I play video games, and if I play a game that is a high anxiety game, if I'm playing it for 2 or 3 days, it's almost the same thing over and over again. So let's say I'm playing Dark Souls. I could play it for about 3 days, and then my anxiety has gotten up to a point where it's very noticeable. And I could be very methodical about how I play the game, so that way my anxiety doesn't get up there. And no matter what, it almost with every single one of these types of games, it's the same thing every time. I get to a point where my anxiety is getting on top of me, and it does have to do with that. And this goes over to some other points that I have. When I'm around certain people and I hear their voice, It makes my anxiety go up. And then when I'm around other people, their voice can make me calm and soothe me. Oddly enough, this has to do with who I am around. What you might say is superficial or narrow-minded or incredibly assholish. It's seriously, if someone has a shrill voice or anything along those lines, and maybe you don't even like my voice. Sometimes I don't even like my voice. It has something to do with it. So if I'm at a place and there's a bunch of poodles barking or whatever, no way, man, I gotta get out of there fast. You know, a lot of people are not going to be able to hack that. They're not going to want to listen to a bunch of dogs barking. Maybe you've been to the pound and you've heard 50 dogs barking at once, and that made you want to take a dump in your pants or whatever right then and there. I mean, we're talking anxiety. So it really does. It has a lot to do with, if you have anxiety, what you can be around, how long you can be around it. It really has to do with your day. You know, being around a bunch of cars driving by, motorcycles driving by, diesel trucks driving by, anything that can add to stress is a part of anxiety for myself. Self-evident. Not speaking for everyone. I'm not reading something off of some site or any of that. This is straight from my head, conveying it to you. Maybe you can identify with that yourself. And when I think about really all the mental conditions that I've watched on this site, varying completely all the way across, from mood swings to anxiety to mania to simply depression to Asperger's to there's more. When I go through all those, I recognize almost all things in me, because I have sensitivity to sound, I have sensitivity to light, I have sensitivity to certain kinds of clothes, mood swings, obsessions, compulsivity. There's more. So, you know, when you are this, or you're that, or what you've been labeled as, or you identify yourself as this or that, there really is so many complexities of anxiety and how it all is connected with each other. You know, everyone to a certain extent has anxiety, as I already mentioned. It's anxiety is the nervous system in the parts of the brain and instincts that have to do with the brain, such as hoarding, fear, survival, if this, if that, coming up with things inside of your mind. What if this happens? What if that happens? Oh no, the outcome, this, forever and ever and ever. And then actual physical things happening where you're waking up with panic attacks, which is different from anxiety attacks. Look it up. That's a whole nother video. A lot of things that can take you to anxiety or panic attacks. People have these more or less. So anxiety is in all humans. Same as, more or less, depression is in all humans. From one point in life to the other, every human is probably going to have a percentage of depression in their life, whether it be 2% or 99% suicide. I'm jumping all over the place here. This is simply thoughts, chit chat, conversation on the matter. Maybe you can relate to some of this. It's personally, I don't think it's as cut and dry that if someone has mood swings and they have physical things with their stomach, and such as myself, I have stomach issues, I have actual physical issues that go beyond simply the brain. And as a doctor once said to me, this is what he said. He said, when your brain is messed up, the rest of your body is messed up. and then it was, all right, get out of my office. Stomach issues. When my anxiety's up, my hands crack and I'm bleeding. It's usually the tips of my fingers are bleeding. It might have something to do with me washing my hands 50 times a day. It might have something to do with that. I'm very gentle with my washing. And also the water is very acidic here, and that's not really great. That's what we're drinking here too. That would be the Rocky Mountains, the Rocky Mountain region. Very, very dry right now. The air is dry. I have a humidifier going. And that's not even doing anything. Still, it can be in the middle of June and my hands will still be splitting. And then they'll be fine when my anxiety is not up. When my anxiety is not beating me up. Another thing too is sleep with anxiety and with mood swings and the anxiety and the compulsivity of the 50 things that I had to do that day, and laying in bed completely tired and not sleeping, and then waking up 4 hours later, bang, zing, manic, and then an hour later maybe I've fallen asleep, and then waking up completely with the feeling that I didn't even get sleep at all, as if I'm minus sleep. And then 3 hours later being completely jet high on nothing, by the way. And no, as far as I know, for the mood swings, there's nothing that they can really offer you to do anything for that. The only thing I know of is SSRIs, which are not good for the mood swing people. And I have a pen pal in Moscow who recently was telling me, yeah, I'm on the SSRIs and everything's wonderful. And I wrote her and I said, hey, look, I know through simple, basic reading online and such, and through different videos, that the SSRIs are not good for the mood swing people. And she wrote me back, she said, look, this is the best I've felt in a long time, because she was manic, and she wasn't listening to me. And all I said was, hey, just look it up. I didn't say do this or do that. The only thing I mentioned was just look up that information on that. Well, I don't know if she did or not. And then about 2-3 months later, just a week ago, she wrote me, and she said, as you said, no, things didn't go too good, which is subjective. I don't really want to, because I don't want to trigger anything in me. I don't really want to say what happened to her. She's fine now. Other than that, there's the only thing that you can really do for anxiety is do natural things, exercise and all that. And you can be exercising and still have anxiety. And anxiety can still go up. And something that I will mention is, and this is from me, and this is something I've known for a little bit here, about a good year or so, is that tomatoes and paprika, potatoes, whatever, any of these types of nightshade type foods, they have a glycoalkaloid inside of them. And that will mess up your sleep. Look it up. I don't have to get into it. The number one thing out of all of those that I think is one of the worst things that you can eat if you have anxiety is paprika. And if you have fried chicken, or if you have a lot of food, paprika is an ingredient in a lot of sauces and gravies and foods and sausages and chicken and hot sauces. It's in all kinds of food. And when you look up all the foods that have paprika, I'm saying to myself, man, why the heck do all these foods have so much paprika? Why is there so much paprika out there? And I really knew this years ago. I got a big thing of paprika from Costco, and I was putting it on everything. And I definitely noticed that it was messing me up, because I was using a lot of it. It was a smoked paprika. So that might be something that you could use to your advantage. If you use paprika in a super low state, you might be able to use the anxiety portion of it, or the upper portion of the paprika. I wouldn't do it. Yeah, it's a little far out there. Still, if you're gonna listen to what I have to say, I'll go out there and I'll say some things that have been evident or an account in my day. Some of the things I can remember to way back. It was a good 10 years ago, things that I've realized that have to do with anxiety or mood swings. So, yeah, a lot of it does have to do with pretty much what you were born with, the brain you were born with, and then after that, how you take care of yourself, if you even can. And so the foods that you're eating and exercising and sleeping, you might have to sleep a massive amount. Sometimes I have to sleep much more, and sometimes I need to sleep much less. Does that sound like mood swing stuff to you? Yeah. Yes, it is. Does the anxiety creep in on either way? Yes. Can I have anxiety and a super low depression? Yes. I can have it either way. I can have it in the middle. I can be manic with depression. It could be either way. My moods can be in so many different. It's a massive spectrum of where it can go. I was even thinking last night some kind of indigo thing. I'm thinking some kind of crazy chameleon that can sporadically be on this massive spectrum. I was thinking about people that have different personalities last night, and how a person can be one person and then they can be an entirely different person. And I was thinking about the spectrum of the actual mood swings that I can have, which you could say the borderline or bipolar, or whatever you want to say it is. So, to think that one day I could be a monster, and then on another day I can be the sweetest little angel you've ever met. And on the day that I'm the monster, it's I'm not out to get you. I'm simply I'm not the same person that you knew. And there can be so much apathy. I mean that it comes across as someone that just doesn't care, which doesn't. Yeah, maybe you could relate to that, possibly. When I think about all the different personalities and when I think about the moods spectrum, and think about who I am on a certain day or certain time that I think back on, I don't really have a recollection unless I'm really in that mood. I don't really identify with myself in a certain kind of mood unless I'm in that mood. I can think of certain traits or whatever. When I think of myself when I'm really frustrated and really mad and angry one day, I can think about that. When I can think of the extent of it, it's not really the same unless that's what is actually happening that day, to be able to identify with myself in that particular mood. Maybe you might be able to relate to that. How does that impact a month or a year? Okay. If you have one day that you care a lot, let's say I'm going to do this, and then you say, well, I'm going to call Tim and I'm going to call Sally and I'm going to get them to do it with me. And then the next day you're in the mood where you don't care, and Tim and Sally are calling you, hey, are we still going to do this, or what's up with this? And so now you kind of are a different person. You're not really that same person anymore. Thing is, though, it's not a personality thing. It's a mood thing. So there's absolutely no relating that I could possibly do with an entirely different personality situation going on. Same respect to them, though, of course. And maybe there is similarities to it. The similarity being probably not so much of disassociating with myself as much. I might be disassociating with my mood that I had the day before. I'm not disassociating with myself, at least. There's not a complete dissociation with my ego or my personal identity. What does that have to do with anxiety? A lot. You wanna do something with yourself, then if I want to do something with myself, I'm taking that into perspective that my mood will be different tomorrow, or my mood will be different 4 hours from now. So why isolation? Why this? Why that? For that reason. Because of my anxiety could be up, my moods could be up, my compulsivity could be up, which is a part of anxiety. Obsessions will be up, which is a part of anxiety. How I'm reacting to things, how I'm reacting to people, how I'm reacting to objects, how I'm reacting to If anything, anyone or anything, on any day that I wake up, because I could wake up laughing, which was what I did this morning. I can wake up cursing, where the first thing that comes out of my mind, out of my mouth, is I'm mad at someone, or I'm mad about something that had happened in my days that I've been around, and I'll be cursing. If you don't have mood swings, you tell me, how many of you out there wake up cursing about something that happened 20 years ago? Just random, random thought. The other day I woke up with a song in my head. I was in a very bad mood, and I had that song in my head, the Pet Shop Boys, the East Side Boys, or whatever it is, and that was going through my head, and it kept going around and around and around, and then I'd go back to sleep, and I'd wake up, and there it was again inside of my head, this East Side Boys, West Side Girls, whatever it's called. Just to give you an idea of the randomness that goes on with the brain that has nerve connectings going to different parts of the brain sporadically and randomly, which is obvious. And some days I can be sharp, and other days I can be completely scattered. And yeah, so it's get on the ride, take the ride. Where's the ride gonna take you? If you don't want to be on the ride, then that's when people end their lives, when they want to get off the ride. And to anyone out there that they're not on a ride, really, not as far as with their brain, and they know themselves too well, and they can say, today I mow the lawn, I love my wife and my children, and I'm gonna go do my engineering, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna watch Simpsons at 7 o'clock and do this. You have method. You can roll, my fellow human. No. Well, if you watched this far in 28 minutes, good for you. Maybe I shared something that's sweet. Maybe there's something sweet there. If anything, when I watch people's videos, one of the best things is to relate to what they're saying. Where you can say, yes, I can relate to that, I relate to that. So if you can relate to any of that, to what I've said, then great. And even more if I can get to know you and we can connect, more important than anything when I make these videos. So say hi, connect. Good night.